Good evening. You are listening to Killer Kross, and you are now listening to the Wrestling Epicenter. TikTok.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with me right now is an Impact Wrestling superstar who's got a big match coming up this Friday night on Pursuit on Impact at Uncaged. It is Killer Kross. Mr. Kross, are you there with me?
I am. How are you, sir?
It's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Oh, well, don't say that yet. This could go horribly south very quickly, but thank you. I appreciate the sentiments.
I hope not. All right, so here we go. Friday night, big match for you, Uncaged. It's a fatal four-way for the Impact Wrestling Championship. Thoughts heading on into Uncaged?
Well, I mean, what do we have here? We have Johnny Impact, who is I guess you could call him the Impact World Champion. We've seen him lose to me. We've seen him lose to Moose. We've seen him, technically lose to Brian Cage 2 or 3 times in one night. And then there's me, the uncrowned Impact World Champion. So technically I'm defending my title in a fatal four-way. That's how I'm observing this situation.
All right. Now with Moose in the match as well, you guys have been paired up together since the Austin Aries alliance. Now here we are, you guys having to go head-to-head. Thoughts on having to potentially square off with Moose?
Oh, him and I are going to be fine. We're not going to have any problems.
All right. I'd still like to know what that limerick was that you were referring to. I forget what it was. The frog and the scorpion, was it?
Oh, yeah. It's just, it's an amphibian and an insect. It didn't really mean anything. I mean, you could look into it. You could Google it. But, I was just throwing something out there for anyone paying attention. All right.
There you go. So your story with Johnny Impact has many twists and turns, and it delves a little bit into real life as well. You guys are longtime friends. I guess my question would be, how cool is it to work with Johnny on this big stage that is Impact?
Very cool. And this is something that we wanted to get around to for an extended period of time. And we kind of always knew this was going to happen in an odd way. We knew that we were going to get to this. We just didn't know where and we didn't know when. So it's very cool to see it finally materialize, I have to say. It's very, 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 the odds that you get to work with a friend and have such a, for lack of better words, a program, perhaps, have a program with someone that you trust. It's a great privilege. What can I say?
Absolutely. So I had Taya Valkyrie on when she did around your neck of the woods, the Shot Fest that happened, and she was talking about you, and she made a reference to Lucha Underground that went completely over my head at the time. Until later, I thought, oh, she was referencing Lucha when she talked about you going further and further down the rabbit hole. I got kind of 2 branches to go with off of Taya Valkyrie. Let's start with wrestling women. I know that intergender wrestling has been a hot topic this weekend with the on-again, off-again match between Nia Jax and Dean Ambrose. What's your thoughts on putting your hands on a woman in the ring, and is it something you're comfortable doing?
I laugh at this subject maniacally and hysterically because we are living in a common era right now where hypocrisy and just double standards and social non-issues seem to really rule the subjects that people choose to discuss. And they choose to discuss these things from a very absurd emotional state rather than a critical thinking point. The fact of the matter is that professional wrestling is a performance art. And in the year 2019, no one's going to be convincing anyone that, this is real in comparison to mixed martial arts or another full contact sport. A lot of people in my industry get offended when you discuss it like this because we get hurt all the time and the life of it is very real. I wouldn't go so far as to use the word fake because fake is sort of a broad stroke that really takes a wide, piss on everything that we're doing. But it's a show. It's a show with a lot of physicality. We have writers, like people know these things. So, you have people that want to be recreationally outraged about anything they possibly can. And this is just another subject that they're just not really exercising any critical thought in. Like when you go watch The Terminator, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. Maybe not a movie for everybody, but for the most part, it's iconic. And the script and the film and the delivery and the execution of this film spawned a lot of different types of underdog stories for women. So you can look at Terminator as some sort of masochistic, horrible, pro-masculine movie that is leaving the woman as the underdog, or you can look at it as Linda Hamilton had an excellent opportunity to showcase that a woman could carry a movie, and she did that technically in Terminator 2 as well. It's like there's a giant robot bodybuilder trying to kill a woman for 2 hours. Everyone went and watched it and enjoyed it. It's a performance art. It's not exactly real. Okay.
Exactly.
So the way I observe this is men and women belong in the ring together. It's not a problem. It's not something that there has to be a broad, or how I could say, a mass abundance of. But I think people, they can feel however they want about it and think whatever they want about it. But I think it's time to let people relax. And quite honestly, it's more or less a backhanded compliment to women to tell them that they can't be in the ring with a man. Because if we want to preach equality and we want to talk about people being equal, then allow them to have the equal opportunity to be in the ring with a man. I mean, it's a performance art. We're not actually going to try to kill each other. This is a TV show. People need to calm down. Like, I appreciate them being so, I appreciate the emotional availability and investment that they have into our program and pro wrestling. I really do. And I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but enjoy the show. Like, it's meant to elicit an emotional response. Allow us to take you on a ride. And if you didn't like it, that's fine. But don't disillusion yourself into thinking that a woman is being put into the ring with a guy against her will and she's not being paid. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. And that kind of stems off of, I guess your view on that kind of does stem off of ECW a little bit. Might not know the history of our show, but we used to be co-hosted by the Queen of Extreme, Francine, for a number of years. And she was the first one to go through tables. She did all this crazy stuff. And here we are where that's kind of commonplace for women.
I mean, sure. There's a whole genre of pro wrestling, extreme, pro wrestling with ECW, where they did stuff like that. And, Bubba Ray and Devon did stuff like this with Moolah and Mae Young. And this is just, like, people are just looking for things to latch onto, to make a fuss about. And it's so much easier to complain about things that are not exactly real problems than to face the actual issues that you're struggling with in real life. And unfortunately, in this common era, this is what people do, and it will pass eventually.
Very cool. All right. So the other branch of that was to talk a little bit about Lucha Underground. You were revealed as the White Rabbit. Really cool reveal. You got an opportunity to do some spoken word things and to actually finally get on Lucha Underground TV wrestling. Season 4 had its ups and downs. Creatively, I think it was maybe a mixed bag. But what did you think of being the White Rabbit?
It was a blast, and I was sold very quickly on it because Paul London and Krista Joseph called me about it. And I think literally within 7 hours, I was on a flight to LA to start filming that. It was very quick. I was able to pull off a variety of different things for a variety of different characters, and many different ideas were considered. And they were hitting a wall with this one. And they ran it by me and said that they wanted me to put my 2 cents in on it and wanted me to make it mine. And I agreed to do it. I wanted to contribute to the program in any way I possibly could. Would I have liked to have contributed in a larger way? And did I think I was going to be contributing in a larger way? Yes. But due to things that we don't even have time to discuss, it happened this way. But I'm happy. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. And I'm really happy that people enjoyed it. And that's why I do this. I'm doing this so people will enjoy it. So if that's what happened, then that was a touchdown for me.
Cool. What do you think about the potential of a Lucha Underground Season 5? It's seeming less and less likely with the climate of wrestling changing right now.
I wish I could be the guy to provide some sort of closure to everyone on that, but I have absolutely no idea. For real, I have no idea.
All right. So I did mention to you on Twitter once that Paragon Pro Wrestling is the first time I saw you, and I could tell you the exact moment I kind of went, huh. It was a simple thing, and I kind of get off on these small things that guys do that kind of make me go, oh, wow, this guy's got something there. You just tilted your head and gave this maniacal look to the camera during an entrance. And something simple like that, just to this day, when I hear your name, the first thing I think of is that maniacal look you gave. And where did you develop this crazy character that you have?
Well, at the risk of sounding legitimately insane, I will just tell you that I have a lot of influences from novels, from comics, from film, from pro wrestling, and I really just I really just try to let these types of things breathe through the format that kind of is Killer Kross. So by format, I mean where this character's from. Like I have a whole context in my mind of where he would be at any time, what he would be doing, what he would be thinking, how he would handle any sort of situation. Because if you're able to build something like that, like an actual professional actor would, portraying a character on a set, in a series for 8 months, you can take that character and you can put them anywhere, and the performance will come off with absolute sincerity. And that was something that I really wanted to deliver. You're going to see the same wrestling moves over and over and over again. There's a redundancy of wrestling moves in the ring, but what you're not going to see that's redundant is execution of sincerity and character presentation. And I realized that right off the bat when I got involved with this. I said, everyone's already seen power bombs and suplexes and all this stuff. And yeah, I'm going to do them. I know what people want to see in their wrestling. I'm going to give it to them. However, what can I show them that's going to be really unique? And I just played with different, character presentations and combined a lot of things that I really felt like I knew well and I could pull off well and do sincerely and believably. And then a lot of it was stuff from social media that fans were commentating on the character. Like you're talking about that head tilt. I can't even tell you how many times I get people, total strangers, fans, or people watching stuff online coming up to me and telling me that there was something I did 9 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, or that night that stayed with them. It was a moment and it was a subtle thing, that devil in the details. I'm all about that. I never, ever throw words to the wind. Everything I say and do will always be done with a very deliberate purpose. And if you enjoy watching things for details, that will always be in my work. And thank you, by the way, for bringing it up. I really do appreciate stuff like that.
Very cool. I was at the Lucha Underground live event you guys did in Phoenix at the state fair, and I know you came to the ring, and it's just like the mood changed. I know they always said it with the Undertaker, like the mood changed when the gong hit, but the mood changed when you were coming to the ring. It's like, oh crap, this is a big guy now. So it's you definitely have a presence that is different than a lot of people out there right now. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. That's something I try to cultivate. And it's also something that I don't try to over project either. I think when you try to over project things in professional wrestling or acting or anything, even just in a social situation, it feels fraudulent. So I just, not to be redundant, but I just allow things to breathe and be as organic as possible. Let people feel it and listen. I'm a big listener when I'm out there. I'm listening to everything going on. I'm not comfortable out there where I can really get into the building and be very comfortable there and get into the people and allow them to get into me. And I work from there.
Very cool. Just a couple more. I promised you I wouldn't keep you too long, but I listened to a few of your prior interviews to prepare for this one, and you kind of made it sound like wrestling might not have been the thing you necessarily wanted to jump straight into. I know they make a point of mentioning your bare knuckle fighting and things of that nature, but why the resistance to wrestling at first?
I really did not feel like I had a very good shot at being the person that I am today in the business, character presentation wise. It was just a matter of not having a support system to pursue it and being better at other things that provided me with a very comfortable living. And it just dawned on me one day that being financially stable doesn't equate to being fulfilled in life. And I have a variety of different types of occupations I could always fall back to and be very comfortable and have, a family and have a whole white picket fence and the whole 9 yards. But that's not really what I want in a sort of a conducive sense. I wanted to be fulfilled, and I've always loved pro wrestling since I was a kid. And I pulled the trigger on it one day, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made because I had my mind made up about this since I was a kid. But as you said, it was, I just went in other directions until I just finally realized, well, this is never going to go away, and I need to try it. And in the back of my mind, I think I had this phobia that once I started doing this, it was going to take over my life because I always loved watching it. I knew it so well. I knew that once I got my hands in it and I was able to play, I was never going to turn back. And that's exactly what happened.
Very cool, very cool. All right. So it seems like so much longer ago because you've kind of become such a huge part of the show. but it was not that long ago that you made your Impact Wrestling debut, the beginning of last summer. Kind of a generic question for you, but how have you enjoyed your run thus far with Impact Wrestling?
I have really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but I've enjoyed this a lot more than I was anticipating I was going to enjoy it, because I've been extended a creative freedom in terms of a lot of things that I'm doing. I mean, so much we don't even have time to get into, but I'm really able to let things that I've done elsewhere and independently breathe here. And that was always my intention. I've been getting this ready, what people are watching, for a very long time on my own accord. So when people say it comes off this way or that way, or so authentically, they really don't realize that I've been kind of in this skin for a long time. And the fact that I was able to actually have the opportunity to show people this, like that's the odds of that happening are slim to none. That just does not happen to people. But the writers believed in it when they saw it, and I think that had a big part of it, because they see everything, and you know they're very overcritical for a good reason, because they want the best presentation of everything on the programming. And they were like, "This needs to be on television," and I said, "Yeah, you're right. It does. So let's get it out there." And they said, "All right, go nuts."
There you go. All right. So there was rumors, and maybe they were clickbait or maybe they weren't clickbait, but there was rumors almost immediately after you made your Impact debut that there was almost immediate impact, or interest, I should say, from other wrestling promotions to bring you in, such as WWE. Was there anything to those reports, or was it, as I said, clickbait?
It was all true. All
Really?
of it was true. Yes.
Wow. And so you're happy with your decision then, with Impact?
Absolutely. I'm happy. Everything happens for a reason. And I think that this was the absolute best thing to do.
Absolutely.
I don't think, and I don't say this in a negative way. I don't think that people in WWE internally or the fan base would have even had any idea how to receive this character if I had went there first with it. And that has a lot to do with their general platform and their presentation. I don't think they would have known how to implement this. So the fact that it's being done elsewhere, maybe one day there will be a time and a place for this guy on that stage. But this is the perfect place to be doing this. And the fact that I've had another avenue with the White Rabbit and Lucha Underground to show sort of a different, how would you say, a different range of myself with the Killer Kross seasoning on it, so to speak, I think it's been perfect.
All right. Two more questions, then I'll let you off the phone, I promise. Something big happened today in Las Vegas. That is that MGM Grand Garden Arena sold out in 25 minutes for All Elite Wrestling. What does this mean for the wrestling landscape to see a new company like this come on with so much fanfare and interest?
This is excellent because, number one, it creates more working opportunities for all of us. We're not necessarily handcuffed if some of us are in a less than desirable situation with a company that we're contracted with, for one. And number two, the more pro wrestling there is, the better, I think. It's going to raise everybody's game. And I think the more availability there is of this, it opens the doors for the casual viewer. I don't know what the general presentation will be of AEW. I have no idea. I don't even know too much about it. I do know what you just said, and I knew that they were here, and Penta and Phoenix are there, and Sammy's there. But I think that in general, this is going to be a good thing for everyone, and it's definitely going to be a good thing for the fan, because anything that this company is going to do with the players that have already been announced and are involved is going to be top-notch, outstanding. And I think it's going to make everyone better, and it's going to be conducive, in the whole grand scheme of things, for this whole industry to continue being as successful as it is.
All right. And Impact Wrestling has a new TV home in 2019, and the catchphrase seems to be, if you have the internet, you have Impact Wrestling, because you're also on Twitch. Thoughts on Impact's new presentation with Pursuit, and how do you feel that it's going to reach a new audience for Impact Wrestling?
I would love to honestly answer that, but I wouldn't even know how. I don't really, to be frank with you, I would love to provide some sort of political answer that the office would be like, "Good job, Kevin." But I don't know that it will. All I do know is that people who are watching it are going to enjoy it. That much I can tell you sincerely, without trying to condescend anyone's intelligence or undermine anyone listening to this. I know that if you watch the program, you're going to enjoy it, because all of us are going out there with the absolute authentic intention to entertain you. No one's showing up to mail it in and do the bare minimum and get out. Everyone is really putting their heart and soul in this. And when people show up today to work, let me tell you, man, it is a very intense environment, and not in a negative way. It's very supportive, and everyone's there to do the best job possible. And I feel like a lot of that translates into the post-production of the program. So that is how I will answer that question. If you're going to watch the show, you're going to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't enjoy it, you can let me know, and I'll find you one day and I'll slam your head through the nearest available car windshield, and then we don't have to hear from you again.
Excellent. I'll give you an example. I watch almost all my wrestling on DVR, and I tend to fast forward through most of it. And my wife said to me last night when I watched Impact, she said, you can fast forward if you want to. I'm like, let's see what happens. And I ended up watching it pretty much, except the commercials, straight through. So there's a lot of great content on Impact, and it's been my favorite wrestling promotion literally since 2002. And here you guys are in a great place right now. So I'm very happy to say that I've been supporting you guys for, gosh, literally the whole run, almost 17 years now.
Well, I'll tell you right now, me personally, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate that you said that. And again, just to reiterate, like, we are going out there with the most sincere intention to entertain people. And there has to be some sort of level of respect and admiration for that. No one is going out there to go through the motions. It's not anyone on that roster, not anyone on that team. We have an excellent team of people with a wide range of experience, with different character presentations, and the whole show's insane. Like, come on, like, nobody wants to watch some sort of dull next door neighbor type stuff. I mean, you want to see crazy things in your wrestling, and you want to see people putting it on the line and getting spiked on their head, and you want to see violence in your wrestling, and you want to see a little bit of respectable, decent sexual entertainment. There's some of that as well. So
all right, man. Well, we can catch you on Impact Wrestling on Pursuit and Twitch every Friday night. Hey, before I let you go, can I just ask for a station ID saying this is Killer Kross and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter?
Do not attempt to adjust your audio hearing. This is Killer Kross, and you are listening to, what the fuck is it called?
Wrestling.
Totally just jumped.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Epicenter, yes, sir.
Epicenter. Okay. Good evening. You are listening to Killer Kross, and you are now listening to the Wrestling Epicenter. TikTok.
This is the Wrestling Epicenter. For over 15 years, we've brought you the top names in professional wrestling for exclusive interviews. Everybody you see here has been interviewed by our site. But we're more than just interviews. So be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for news, results, information, and of course our store. WrestlingEpicenter.com, your #1 source for wrestling information.